Young and Restless 2-week spoilers February 9th to 20th. Victor claims major victory as Nick's life crumbles. Let's jump right into it. Monday, February 9th. Nikki Newman Melody Thomas Scott wants Victor Newman to give her an update on Dominic Chancellor, Ethan Ray Clark. And she's griping about Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, being kept away from Devin Hamilton, Brighton James, right now when he needs his sister. Victor says that Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, wants proof that Lily and the twins are safe. And Nikki says she wants that, too. That really annoys Victor because he thinks Nikki doubts him. But Victor gets the photo and shows Nikki the picture, and then he forwards it to Kane. YandR Victoria schemes to take down Phyllis and help Victor. Meanwhile, Nick tells Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, and Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, that Detective Burrow, Matt Cohen, is working Dominic's abduction case. Victoria doesn't believe that Lily agreed to go along with Victor. Victoria Newman thinks she can prove Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, stole the AI. If she can get the proof to take to law enforcement, Victoria might be able to leverage Phyllis to flip on Kane to save herself. She thinks they need a backup plan. Adam thinks that Victor offered Chancellor to Lily, but Victoria thinks he didn't because that would ruin her parents' marriage. Nick tends to agree with Victoria, but Adam tells them both Victor has been up late texting him, hasn't been sleeping, and thinks that their dad would see giving up Chancellor as a small sacrifice if it saved the rest of the Newman empire. Victoria wants Nick to talk to Phyllis again, and Nick admits to his siblings that he is still in a lot of pain. Victoria warns Nick to be careful with the medication. Then Victor texts them all saying come back to the ranch right now. He shows his 3 kids the photo and says Lily is safe, and Kane is going to make a deal. Adam asks what Victor offered Lily, but Victor won't answer. Another red flag. It might have been Chancellor. Young and the Restless spoilers. Claire's investigation in Los Angeles and the Newman Ranch showdown. Meanwhile, Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron, goes with Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, to Los Angeles, but he quickly realizes that Claire came along primarily to dig up dirt on Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver. Holden tells Claire, "Look, you're wasting your time." Claire is also annoyed that Holden is doing something for Kane in Los Angeles. He said he's looking into Lily's possible kidnapping, but Claire is absolutely adamant that Victor wouldn't do that. Behind Holden's back, Claire calls the art gallery that was owned by the guy that Holden accidentally killed. He gets the photo that Kane wanted and sends it over. It shows Lily and the kids with a sketchy guy and they are looking scared. Phyllis is gloating up at Newman Enterprises about stealing everything from Victor on Young and Restless. But she and Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, are bickering about Kane giving Chancellor to Billy. Then Kane comes in and tells Billy he can't sign the Chancellor contract yet. Phyllis and Billy keep sniping until Kane gets the photo of Lily and the twins from Holden. Billy takes off, but Phyllis stays and Kane tells her that Victor took Lily and the kids, but Phyllis says it is a bluff. Victor wouldn't hurt Neil Winters, Christoph St. John family, but Kane doesn't believe her. Phyllis keeps on saying he's being played, but Kane leaves, runs over to the ranch and tells Victor, "You won." Kane wants proof that Victor has let the family go, and then Kane will give Newman Enterprises back to Victor. YandR spoilers. Phyllis and Billy scheme for Chancellor as Mariah flees Genoa City. Meanwhile, Phyllis runs over to Billy's and says that Kane is caving in and giving everything back to Victor. So Billy won't get Chancellor unless he works with Phyllis, and they act fast to grab it up, but they have to move now. Tuesday, February 10th, Victor Newman summons the whole family for a meeting. Some of this may be about Dominic. We'll see. But I think most of it is going to be Victor saying his plan worked. He has defeated Kane. They're going to be getting everything back. Meanwhile, Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, is blaming herself for Mariah Copeland, Cameron Grimes, kidnapping Dominic. Obviously, Sharon thinks she didn't check in on Mariah enough or visit her enough at the clinic in Boston. Elsewhere, and Billy are scheming against Kane because he has turned against them, caved into Victor's bluff, and is signing assets back over. Billy wants Chancellor, and he and Phyllis may realize that it's the only thing they can salvage when Kane starts giving Newman assets back. Wednesday, February 11th, Abby Newman, Melissa Ordway, and Devin get a lead on Dominic, and we're going to see them working with Detective Burrow to take down Mariah and get Dom back. Speaking of those two, at a restaurant wearing matching trucker hats. We'll see Dominic asking Mariah why she won't tell him where they're going. She says that she's taking Dominic to the best hideout in the world. Mariah says they are going to a whole different country. Something happens with Dominic where Mariah feels like she has to switch things up. So, we'll see if she pivots and is still planning to take him out of the country, or if she does something else. Young and the Restless spoilers, Kane's medical emergency and Nikki's desperate plea to Jack. Thursday, February 12th. Victor uncovers shocking information about Kane. Victor's in the bedroom of the Kane train as Adam walks in and is looking at Kane unconscious there. Adam asks Victor if he's dead, and he doesn't answer straight away. I wonder if Kane is so upset he got drunk and passed out. Maybe it's alcohol poisoning. Billy and Phyllis get overheard by Victoria, and I'm sure it's about Chancellor. Of course, Victoria is very insistent that Chancellor needs to come back to her mom. Nikki goes to Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, and she's quite distraught. Nikki may tell him about the fake abduction of Lily and the kids, but bottom line, Nikki's frantic and telling Jack that she's worried what Victor will do next. She is worried that if he goes too far, Nikki won't be able to take it anymore and will have to walk away. Jack's comforting Nikki and hugging her right as Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, is walking in. She does not like what she sees, just like Victor didn't like when he saw the same thing at his house. Valentine's Day romance, and a high-stakes private jet search on YandR. Friday, February 13th, Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, goes all out for Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun. He's not giving up. It looks like Noah may head to Los Angeles for Valentine's Day. Chelsea Lawson, Melissa Claire Egan, gets a romantic gesture from Adam for Heart's Day. Billy is also going all out to woo and impress Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, and prove himself, but him conspiring with Phyllis to get Chancellor may be a deal breaker, even though he won't be conspiring with Kane anymore. The week of February 16th through the 20th, we are going to be seeing Burrow, Devin, and Abby on a private jet soon, and they are trying to chase down Mariah and Dominic. The good news is she's driving and they're on a plane, so maybe they can cut her off at the pass. Sally is very conflicted about Billy. And Sally loves him, but she feels like Billy is letting her down. Sally also, though, doesn't want to walk away while Billy's mom is sick and possibly dying, so she is really struggling. Young and the Restless spoilers. The return of Patty Williams and Nick Newman, Young and the Restless. Spiral. Victory often comes at a devastating cost. And this time, the price may be far too high for Nick Newman. Victor Newman has never been a man who plays small. He doesn't negotiate weakness. He doesn't tolerate betrayal. And above all, he does not lose. But as Genoa City braces for the fallout of Victor's latest calculated move, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Victor may have secured a major corporate triumph, but his own son's life is unraveling in the process. For weeks, Victor has been quietly orchestrating a corporate takedown that only he could execute with such icy precision. The mustache had his sights set on reclaiming full dominance at Newman Enterprises, tightening his grip on every division, and eliminating any internal weakness. And in Victor's eyes, that weakness was Nick. Nick Newman has always been the emotional one, the compassionate one, the son who dared to question his father's ethics instead of blindly defending them. While Victor thrives on power plays and calculated cruelty, Nick has tried, repeatedly, to build something different. But in Genoa City, idealism is often crushed under the weight of ambition. Victor's latest maneuver blindsided everyone. He secured control over a crucial subsidiary Nick had been spearheading. A division Nick believed was his chance to finally prove he could lead on his own terms. With one decisive boardroom ambush, Victor stripped Nick of authority and reassigned the operation under his direct control. When Victor rose from his chair and declared, "This company will not be run on sentiment," the message was crystal clear. Game over. For Nick Newman, this wasn't just a professional defeat, it was deeply personal. Nick has spent years trying to escape his father's shadow. He walked away from Newman Enterprises before. He built Dark Horse from the ground up. He returned to the family business hoping things had changed, hoping Victor had changed. But Victor doesn't change. Nick's humiliation in the boardroom was only the beginning. Rumors are already swirling through the executive offices. Investors are questioning Nick's leadership. Employees who once respected him are now unsure where loyalties should lie. And at home, the cracks are widening. Nick's emotional state is spiraling. He's distracted, short-tempered, haunted by the realization that no matter how hard he tries, he may never earn his father's respect. What's worse? Victor doesn't seem to care. Nick's turmoil inevitably spills into his complicated relationship with Sharon Newman. Sharon knows Nick better than anyone. She can see the weight he's carrying, the frustration, the resentment, the deep-seated fear that he's becoming exactly what he despises. But Sharon also knows something else. Victor isn't just fighting for control of a company. He's testing Nick, pushing him, forcing him to either rise with ruthless strength or crumble. As Nick grows more volatile, Sharon worries he may choose the wrong path. Will Nick walk away from Newman Enterprises again? Or will he fight back, even if it means adopting tactics that mirror his father's? Sharon fears the answer. Because if Nick loses himself trying to defeat Victor, she may lose him too. Nikki caught in the crossfire. No one understands the destructive nature of Victor's power better than Nikki Newman. As a wife and a mother, Nikki is torn. She sees Victor's strategic brilliance, and she sees the damage it leaves behind. When she confronts Victor privately, urging him to show mercy toward their son, his response is chilling. "This is business," Victor insists. Nick must learn. But learn what? That love is conditional? That power matters more than family? That vulnerability is weakness? Nikki's heartbreak is evident. She fears Victor's lesson could permanently fracture their family. And this time, reconciliation may not come so easily. A dangerous turning point. Nick's desperation could push him toward risky decisions. Whispers circulate that Nick may seek alliances outside the Newman circle, possibly even with long-standing rivals. The mere thought of Nick aligning with a corporate enemy would be seen by Victor as the ultimate betrayal. And if Victor feels betrayed, there's no telling how far he'll go. The father-son dynamic has always been volatile. But this feels different, deeper, more final. Nick isn't just wounded, he's humiliated. And humiliation breeds recklessness. Victor's major victory, or Pyrrhic triumph. Victor stands tall, seemingly victorious. Newman Enterprises is firmly under his control. The board is aligned. His authority is unquestioned. On the surface, he has won. But in private moments, when the office lights dim and the bravado fades, even Victor must confront an uncomfortable possibility. What if this victory costs him his son? Nick has walked away before. He could do it again, permanently this time. He could sever business ties, emotional ties, even family ties. And while Victor would never admit it publicly, the idea of losing Nick entirely might be the one loss he cannot tolerate. The legacy at stake. At its core, this battle isn't just about corporate control. It's about legacy. Victor built an empire. But empires need heirs. And heirs need to feel valued, not dismantled. Nick has always represented a different version of the Newman future. Compassionate, ethical, balanced. Victor sees that as softness. Nick sees Victor's dominance as tyranny. Somewhere between those opposing visions lies the true question haunting Genoa City. Can the Newman dynasty survive its own internal war? What comes next? The tension between Victor and Nick is far from over. In fact, it may only be beginning. Will Nick retaliate with a bold counterstrike? Will Sharon succeed in grounding him before he spirals? Will Nikki force Victor to reconsider, or choose sides? And perhaps most dangerously of all, what if Nick decides the only way to win is to stop being the man he's always tried to be? Because if that happens, Victor may finally get the ruthless successor he always wanted. But at what cost? A storm brewing in Genoa City. In Genoa City, power shifts like the wind. Today's Victor can become tomorrow's cautionary tale. Victor Newman may be celebrating a major win. But as Nick's life begins to crumble, professionally, emotionally, and relationally, the cracks in the Newman foundation are widening. And if that foundation collapses, even Victor Newman may not be able to rebuild what he destroyed. One thing is certain, the Newman War is Restless. Alliances are fragile, loyalty is currency, and betrayal is practically a family tradition, especially for the Newmans. And now, Genoa City is bracing for another storm as Victoria Newman quietly sets a plan into motion. One that could bring Phyllis Summers to her knees and solidify Victor Newman's dominance once more. But this isn't just business. This is personal. Victoria's breaking point. Victoria has always been her father's daughter. Calculating, poised, and never afraid to strike first. But recent months have tested her patience. Phyllis has been circling Newman Enterprises like a vulture, inserting herself into corporate conversations, whispering doubt into strategic meetings, and leveraging her unpredictable brilliance to gain influence. To Victoria, Phyllis isn't just a nuisance. She's a liability. And worse, Victor has entertained her. While Victor respects cunning, Victoria sees recklessness. She believes Phyllis thrives on chaos, and chaos is bad for business. So when Phyllis recently pitched a bold restructuring strategy that subtly undermined Victoria's authority, it was the final straw. Victoria didn't explode. She smiled. And that's when the real danger began. A daughter's loyalty or ambition. Victoria approaches Victor not with accusations, but with concern. In the dim lighting of the Newman office, she frames her argument carefully. "Dad," she says coolly, Phyllis doesn't want to help Newman Enterprises. She wants to control it. Victor, ever observant, studies his daughter's expression. He knows Victoria rarely moves without strategy. But he also knows she has inherited his instinct for power. What Victoria doesn't say outright is this: removing Phyllis also strengthens her own position. Victor listens. He doesn't commit, but he doesn't dismiss her either. That's all Victoria needs. The plan takes shape. Victoria begins digging. She quietly tasks a trusted insider to examine Phyllis's recent communications. Business calls, vendor negotiations, side conversations with Abbott-linked executives. It doesn't take long to uncover something suspicious. A potential backdoor deal involving confidential data analytics. Is it illegal? Not quite, but it's ethically questionable. And in corporate warfare, perception matters more than proof. Victoria prepares a carefully curated report. She doesn't exaggerate. She doesn't fabricate. She presents facts in the most devastating light possible. Then she waits. Phyllis senses the trap. Phyllis may be impulsive, but she's not naive. She begins noticing subtle shifts, meetings she's excluded from, calls that aren't returned, whispers that stop when she enters a room. She corners Victoria one afternoon in the hallway outside the executive suite. "You've been busy," Phyllis smirks. Victoria's expression remains serene. "I always am." The air crackles between them. Phyllis suspects sabotage. Victoria denies everything gracefully. But Phyllis knows the game well enough to recognize when someone is building a case. And she refuses to go down quietly. Victor makes his move. When Victor finally calls Phyllis into his office, the tension is suffocating. He lays the report on the desk. Phyllis defends herself passionately, insisting her strategy was meant to increase profits and protect Newman from Abbott interference. Victor listens. Then he delivers the verdict. Effective immediately, Phyllis's involvement in upper-level decision-making will be re-evaluated. It's not a firing, but it's a demotion in everything but name. Phyllis storms out, furious, humiliated, and vowing revenge. Outside the office, Victoria watches silently. Round 1, Victoria. But did Victoria win too easily? Victory in Genoa City is never simple. While Victoria believes she has secured her father's trust, she underestimates one key factor. Victor admires strength, even when it challenges him. And Phyllis, wounded but unbroken, is at her most dangerous when cornered. Soon whispers begin circulating that Phyllis may align herself with a surprising ally. Perhaps someone eager to see Victoria stumble. Maybe an Abbott. Maybe even someone inside Newman. Victoria's calculated strike may have started a war she isn't fully prepared to fight. Father and daughter, a shifting dynamic. Later, in a quiet moment, Victor pours 2 glasses of scotch. He hands one to Victoria. "You handled yourself well," he admits. But then comes the warning. "In this business, you must always anticipate retaliation." Victoria nods confidently, but internally, she recognizes the truth. She didn't just remove Phyllis from power. She embarrassed her. And humiliation breeds obsession. Still, Victoria doesn't regret her move. In her mind, she protected Newman Enterprises. She protected her father. And maybe, just maybe, she proved she is the rightful heir to the Newman Empire. Phyllis plots her revenge. Alone in her suite, Phyllis replays every conversation. Every look. Every slight. She realizes something chilling. Victoria didn't attack emotionally. She attacked strategically. Which means this wasn't impulsive. It was premeditated. Phyllis begins gathering her own ammunition. She knows Newman history is littered with secrets. If Victoria wants a corporate chess match, Phyllis is ready to flip the board. And she might have something explosive enough to make Victor question his daughter's motives entirely. What happens next? As the battle lines harden, Genoa City braces for impact. Victoria believes she acted in loyalty. Phyllis believes she was betrayed. Victor remains the kingmaker, but even kings can miscalculate. Will Victoria's maneuver cement her power, or expose her ambition? Will Phyllis retaliate with something devastating enough to fracture the Newman family from within? One thing is certain. When 2 of Genoa City's fiercest women collide, no one escapes unscathed. And in the world of the young and the restless, today's victory is fair share of power plays, betrayals, and jaw-dropping secrets. But nothing prepares fans of the young and the restless for what's coming next. Claire's quiet transformation from outsider to calculating investigator is about to shake the very foundation of the Newman dynasty. And it all begins in Los Angeles. Claire heads west, a dangerous curiosity. Claire has been walking a delicate line ever since finding herself entangled with the Newmans. While she's tried to present herself as composed and loyal, there's a fire burning beneath the surface, one fueled by unanswered questions. When a cryptic phone call hints at hidden financial transfers connected to Newman Enterprises, Claire doesn't hesitate. Without informing anyone, not even Victoria, she boards a flight to Los Angeles. Los Angeles isn't just a change of scenery. It's a treasure trove of secrets. Claire's investigation quickly leads her to a shadowy consultant with past ties to Victor's offshore dealings. Documents surface. Shell companies. A mysterious property acquisition under a false name. The pieces don't fully connect yet, but they point back to one place, Newman Ranch. And to one man. Victor's shadow looms large. No secret stays buried forever when Victor Newman is involved. Victor has always operated 10 steps ahead of his enemies, and 5 steps ahead of his own family. But Claire's digging threatens to expose something even the great Victor Newman doesn't want revealed. Back in Genoa City, Victor senses a disturbance. A routine internal audit request crosses his desk, one he didn't authorize. His instincts flare. Someone is sniffing around. He makes a call. "Find out where Claire is," he orders coldly. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Claire receives a warning. A sleek black car follows her from her hotel. An anonymous message appears on her phone. "Stop now." But Claire doesn't scare easily anymore. A discovery that changes everything. The breakthrough comes unexpectedly. While reviewing property records, Claire discovers that a ranch property in California was purchased years ago under a subsidiary linked to Newman Enterprises. The date of the purchase coincides with a pivotal scandal in Genoa City, one that nearly tore the Newman family apart. Why would Victor quietly acquire land thousands of miles away during that crisis? Claire's theory is chilling. Victor was preparing an exit strategy. Or worse, planning leverage. Armed with digital copies of the documents, Claire returns to Genoa City, determined to confront the truth head-on. But she underestimates just how explosive the fallout will be. The confrontation unfolds where it always does, at Newman Ranch. The tension in the living room is suffocating. Victoria stands near the fireplace, confusion etched across her face. Nick watches cautiously. And Victor sits behind his desk, composed as ever. Claire enters, clutching a folder that could detonate the family's fragile peace. "I went to Los Angeles," she announces. Silence. Victor's eyes narrow almost imperceptibly. "You should have informed me." Claire doesn't back down. "Why did you buy that property? And why hide it?" Victoria's head snaps toward her father. "What is she talking about?" Victor rises slowly. Business decisions are not up for public debate. But Claire presses on. She reveals the timeline, the Shell Corporation, the financial transfers, the suspicious overlap with a family scandal. Nick's jaw tightens. "Dad, what were you planning?" For the first time, Victor's control falters, not visibly but enough. He admits the property was intended as a contingency plan. During a period when he believed his enemies were closing in, he prepared a fallback location for select family members. But Claire senses there's more. "Who wasn't included in that plan?" she demands. The question hangs heavy. Victoria pales. Was this about Adam? Victor's silence is deafening. Fault lines in the family. The revelation fractures old wounds. Victoria feels betrayed, not because Victor planned for danger, but because he didn't trust her enough to tell her. Nick questions whether their father manipulates even his own children under the guise of protection. And Claire? She realizes she may have just ignited a war she can't control. Victor turns his full attention to her. "You went digging into matters you don't understand." Claire meets his stare. "Maybe I understand more than you think." Their power dynamic shifts in that moment. Claire is no longer the uncertain newcomer seeking validation. She's a threat, a wild card. And Victor does not tolerate wild cards. The aftermath, alliances shift. In the days following the showdown, the Newman family splinters. Victoria withdraws, grappling with the possibility that her father has always had backup plans that exclude her. Nick begins quietly reviewing corporate structures himself, trust eroded. Victor, meanwhile, makes subtle moves behind the scenes. He initiates a restructuring within Newman Enterprises. Loyal executives are reassigned. Security protocols tighten. Claire feels the walls closing in. But she also gains something unexpected: respect. Victoria confronts her privately. Instead of anger, there's reluctant admiration. "You stood up to him," she says softly. "Not many people can." Claire's gamble may have cost her safety, but it earned her credibility. A new power player emerges. The real twist? Claire didn't uncover everything in Los Angeles. One encrypted file remains unopened, a detail she's kept to herself. Because the property wasn't just land. There was a second structure listed in the purchase order. A secured facility built months after the initial acquisition. No public records. No permits. What was Victor hiding there? And more importantly, does it still exist? As Claire stares at the final document on her laptop, she realizes this isn't over. Not by a long shot. What's next in Genoa City? The Newman Ranch confrontation marks a turning point. Claire is no longer operating in the shadows. She's stepped into the arena. Victor now sees her clearly. And in his world, that makes her either an asset or an enemy. With alliances shifting and long-buried secrets resurfacing, the Newman legacy hangs in the balance. Claire's investigation may have started in Los Angeles, but its consequences will ripple through every corner of Genoa City. The question is, will Claire become the Newman family's greatest defender?